y'all. This is Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where two best friends recap romance novels, squee into the ether, and sometimes swoon over problematic stuff. If you like the show and you have access to it, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Our goal is to hit 1,000 reviews by the end of the year, and we're only 130 off. Rating, even without a written review, helps us so much, and we appreciate it. This week, we're starting out with a Patreon shout-out. Chantel T., you can trace your lineage back to Dionysus. While most people only know about him being the god of wine, which is pretty great on its own with all the revelry and whatnot, we've recently learned there's so much more. For one thing, Dionysus was associated with rebirth, with the grapevines needing to be pruned back dramatically and going dormant in the winter in order to bear fruit again. That's one reason you're so good at pivoting when something doesn't work out. Plus, I don't know if you knew this, but Dionysus invented dolphins. I know, it shocked me too. So, you've got some unexpected tricks up your sleeve even now. Make sure to check out our Patreon, where you can get over 100 bonus episodes, videos of regular episodes, and other extras like shoutouts, behind the scenes, virtual trivia, and book club. This week, Erin and I recap a truly, wonderfully bonkers historical romance, Duke of Sin by Elizabeth Hoyt. Hold on to your butts. Hi, Erin.
Hello.
We're here. How are you?
I thought it was going to be a whole chant, and then it was just that we are in fact here.
And then I abandoned it.
How's it going? You look fantastic with your
you.
purple messy bun and your makeup and your new glasses.
I have new glasses. Yeah, I got some
It's a
new
lot.
glasses.
You're serving up looks for sure.
Thank
I'm serving up
you.
sweatshirt. I'm serving up woke up 10 minutes ago. I'm serving up allergies.
I like it.
Thank you. It's a whole thing.
It's
for
sexy. Well, so I do want to talk about my shirt. I have a new shirt.
It says so many books and
Ooks, yeah.
little time.
And so little time. And what is
He's
it?
maybe an alien.
It's an octopus holding
It's
a bunch
an
of
octopus.
books.
I'm sorry.
It's
Oh, wait. Did we see that shirt? Didn't you? Maybe I've seen it. No, that was a different octopus shirt that I sent you. Sorry.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, probably. No, so
Yeah.
a package arrived a couple of weeks ago, and I had no idea where it was from. And it turns out Michael had seen a sale at one of like our favorite little shirt boutiques online, and he decided to get all of us in the family a shirt. And so mine is so it was this big surprise, and suddenly I had a new favorite shirt. And he got himself one that says that has a little panda on it with a bunch of bowls of noodles and some chopsticks, and it says "Send nudes," which is adorable. NOODS.
I think you've mentioned that shirt before, either to me or on the show. I am still just fucking floored that your husband is wearing a shirt with a panda on it.
I know.
Because Michael has hated pandas since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
Like, not just like casually hated pandas, but like with a fiery passion, hated pandas. Would like get mad at his sister for mentioning pandas. Right? Am I wrong?
Well, not in front of her.
Sorry.
No. He doesn't actually get mad about it. He just thinks it's hilariously funny. It's sort of a bit, you know?
I have seen him get mad about it.
No, I know.
Acknowledge that it could be a bit.
But part of the bit is how mad he is about it. No, but he is. He's like, they're fucking useless. Why are we worshiping an animal that will not fuck? Like, it's going extinct because it will not fuck.
Yeah,
I'm like, I get it. That seems, you know.
I saw him one time do like a whole panda skit in anger being like, hey, panda, you're going extinct. Would you like to fuck this other panda? Or would you like to...
all I want to do is eat bamboo. It's true.
Anyway, it's crazy to me that he's gotten over this in any capacity.
Let me tell you this. It's not about the panda, Erin. It's about the noodles.
Well, that offends me as well. And I think you know why.
I just love dumplings.
Because people should just be allowed to love what they love and not be taunted for it, especially when it's a food. There you go. Maybe I just wanted some dumplings, Michael, and now it's 10 years later, and I'm still getting shit for saying I love dumplings at a buffet. That's all.
That was also a bit. Oh my god. And Ben was there too.
Ben really took it over the top.
He did.
They fed on each other's energy to humiliate me for eating food at a buffet.
Oh, no. What terrible
so really
humans
both take
we love.
They both take the blame.
Man.
For that.
We love some terrible humans, Erin.
Always. Speaking of loving a terrible human, let's talk about Duke of Sin.
Holy shit! Wait, I thought this was Erin catnip through and fucking through. Is it not?
I don't know.
Yeah!
I think I have to. I don't know.
It's
I was
everything.
Just so confused the whole time.
Oh, I can't wait.
It's everything.
I can't wait to talk about. Wait,
dramatically, it is so much trigger warning.
Yeah, so we have to do a whole trigger warning segment. Hello,
bing bong bong, bird click.
We are going to be discussing discussions of rape. There's no rape on the page, but there is a lot of talk about.
Is there no rape on the page?
Uh-oh.
They have very dubious consent.
They do?
Oh, yes!
What?
That first time? Are you kidding me?
What?
She says housekeeper. She never indicates she wants to do this before she's naked.
She absolutely does. She does to us.
Eventually?
No, she does.
I don't know. I found it to be dubious
2 chapters before, she talked about how she was falling in love with the Duke of Montgomery.
Sure. But to him?
No, yeah. I mean,
no external indications.
There was always, yeah. Okay. But she gave,
Listen. Was it fun to read? Yes. Was the consent dubious?
Yes. Perhaps.
I can't believe I'm having this conversation with you.
I just didn't read it that way. This is shocking.
He thought she was a virgin and he just shoved it in. Again, was it fun to read?
Yeah,
yes.
It really was.
Should he have maybe said, is it cool if I shove it in now? Also,
probably
yes.
So. Listen, am I trash for the Duke of Montgomery? I guess so.
Yes.
Okay.
Are we both trash for this book?
Yes. We're trash for it.
Yes.
Okay, listen. But we have to take it back to the trigger warnings.
Yes.
There's a lot of discussions of like violent, bad, like pedophilic rape. And if that is a thing that really gets you, I would love for you to take care of yourself and turn this off.
Yeah, just turn this off. Because honestly, you might be like, oh, maybe I can read the book and just skip the pedophilic rape portions. You can't. It is replete.
Yeah, listen, there's none of that on the page. There are some descriptions and there are multiple just mentions of the things.
Mm-hmm.
So like, in addition to, like, if you want to turn it off right now, we love you and we hope you have a wonderful day.
We love you and thank you for the download and the 5-star review. We appreciate you.
We do love those 5-star reviews.
Thank you. If you do the download, we can't tell if you listen to it. So just go ahead and turn it off. It's fine with us.
But also, while we go through it, I will also say, like, skip ahead a little bit. I'm gonna be talking about a thing. So either way you want to handle it, listener, we trust you. And we love you.
Mm-hmm. Now, listener, you might be out there and saying to yourself, I can deal with some dubious consent.
Sure.
And I can deal with some pedophilic corporate elite. However,
if you can't deal with child abuse, also, big red flags all over the place. And then, if you can't...
The most animal cruelty you've ever read in a book.
Ever read on a page. And I know we're laughing through this, but it's mostly because it's highly uncomfortable.
It's highly uncomfortable and highly fiction. It's so very fiction. Like,
oh, yeah.
Because it's all at a level. This whole book is at 11.
Yes.
This whole book is turned up to the max.
Yes.
And it's so much that it's not, to me, at least personally,
this is a bonkers
this book was so much that it was like past a disturbing because it was so ridiculous, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I couldn't, I wasn't triggered by anything, and a lot of times a lot of these things trigger me, but it was just like so outlandish, or like hopefully outlandish, that I couldn't. It was very fiction in my brain. Yeah, exactly that.
It was similar to me, like Split.
Yes.
Split had some of the most craziest child abuse I've ever read.
Yes.
But it was so crazy that it was just kind of like,
right,
okay.
Right.
And not
and it's also
disturbing.
not like that because because Split also had like incredibly graphic descriptions, and like a lot of it was present tense and flashbacks and stuff. So it's not even like that. For me, there were multiple levels of distancing that it was fine for me. But again, and I don't know if this is clear enough from the trigger warning about descriptions of pedophilic rape, but there's also like if child sexual abuse. It's like that. I know they're hand in hand, but I just gotta say it out loud. Those are the trigger warnings that I can currently think of. And I think I kept a pretty good track.
Yeah.
So there's a duel.
I think that's it.
Oh, and there's murder.
Oh yeah, there is some murder.
There's a couple of very graphic in the moment murders.
Very graphic murders.
But he also has reasons. He's got reasons.
And there are some kidnaps
where
he does not have reasons.
Listen, there's a kidnap. Fuck! God damn it. Okay.
So the consent is all fine on the page. It's totally
I
fine.
meant with him and her,
Says
not
Melody.
with Hippolyta. Hippolyta is
That's
poor
not
thing from
true
start
either.
to finish. But as far as the couple is concerned, I was cool with all of it. Okay, here we go. We've got Bridget and Val. And Bridget,
good morning,
is a housekeeper, and she's doing a snoop. She's doing a big old snoop. Yeah. And then, all of a sudden, and she's got a miniature in her hand that she found in a secret compartment of a
miniature
headband.
Headboard. Is like a little tiny picture.
Tiny little picture.
Tiny little picture. And it's a miniature. Is this what's her name's miniature?
It's Hippolyta's.
You guys listen. The blackmail in this book is so fucking confusing all the time.
It's just there's so much of it. Our hero is a blackmailer.
He is blackmailing so many people at the same time. It is so hard to figure out.
And we also get descriptions of past blackmails, the previous blackmails that he's done. So yeah.
And then people are trying to blackmail him, which is also confusing.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. So, okay. So listen.
Okay.
She's looking
Which
for this
miniature is
miniature. It's Hippolyta's. So,
okay.
Then she hears this like aristocratic drawl come from a dark corner. And he's like, Mrs. Crumb. And she drops the miniature and kicks it under the bed. And she's like, I thought you were on the continent. But really, he has been. because tell me everything. Didn't he fuck someone's niece? God damn it!
He keeps kidnapping. He won't stop. So, okay.
Oh yeah, he kidnapped her too.
Yeah, shit. He can't because at the very beginning I was like, "Oh, is this just like a trash man's Devil in Winter?" I was like, which is fine,
which is great.
Like
here for it,
fine,
here for it.
But then it goes off the rails immediately, so it's totally different. But at the beginning, it was like, okay, so Valentine, the Duke of Montgomery, has been banned from England.
All of England. Shore to shore.
Can you imagine Duke of Montgomery? How many dukes are there? Like total, like 12?
Like 16 of
Duke
them.
of Montgomery. Yeah. You're banned. Get off of England.
You have to leave your ducal estate.
Because you have kidnapped too many women. Stop it.
I think it was just the one, but it was a very powerful man's
It was
one.
two. It was two. Yes.
Hippolyta. I kept on saying Hippolyta in my head the whole time. It is Hippolyta.
I said hippopotamus every time, and she's lovely and a nice girl, and I liked her, but I'm sorry, hippopotamus is his third kidnapping.
I thought it was the second.
No! I swear to you, it was.
I believe
he had done
you.
more. And they're all like the richest, most connected heiresses in England.
Because he wants a prize. He is the Duke of Montgomery, and he deserves a prize on his arm.
He wants to marry the best lady in England.
The most beautiful and the most richest. And he will not settle for anything less.
Why they won't just marry
No, he knows exactly why he won't marry them, and he doesn't care. That's the best part. He's just like, I'm not even going to bother trying to woo these bitches. I just have to start with kidnapping. Step 1, kidnap. And then go from there.
I mean, it is a love language for some.
It is.
We're talking to you, HBK.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay, listen. So she's like,
yes.
This is the bonkersest thing for me, all right? He has been banished from all of England Times. And so instead of leaving for the continent, which everyone thought he has done for 3 months, count them, 12 weeks, he has been in his own walls.
Living in the walls. He's been living in the walls like a rat. He's been living in his walls.
He's been a wall person the whole time.
And I thought to myself, oh, maybe there's like a very complicated, like tunnel system in the house that leads to other very like lavish rooms, like in the
Scottish Times book.
No, I was thinking of the vampire duke, the Manzanias.
Oh,
remember they found that like secret place?
That's right.
Listen,
it's not.
That is not the case. He was living in the walls like a rat.
He had one tiny room. She finds out later, she does a snoop around there later, because she's only there, we find out, because she's the daughter of a ladyship, and he's blackmailing her biological mother. Mm-hmm. He has some letters that basically her biological mother was like, I need you to go and do this job for this absolutely dangerous, heinous man so that you can get my letters back, please and thank you. I know I did literally nothing for you in your whole life, but I do need this.
Yes, I was a famous rich lady. So what I did do was sneak off to the countryside and have you in a cottage and then give you to like some randos.
A farmer.
But now I am back in your life and I do need you to do this dangerous mission for me.
Don't worry. I'm going to give you a reference that makes you like the peakest of peaky housekeepers in the whole land.
I'm going to make you a great
That's
housekeeper.
what I'm going to do for you since you were 12.
Again, she's like royalty or whatever.
So anyway, she's there because she's the best, purest, bestest person in the whole wide world, and she's like, sure, I owe you my life and my loyalty. Meanwhile, I was thinking the whole time, no you fucking don't. Anyway, so she does a snoop later to see if the letters are in this like hidey hole of a room, and I shit you not, it is a hidey hole of a room. There's dust everywhere. There's like a cot, a desk, a chair, some books, some tinkering things that he's building to like make ships run around on the table.
That shit never came back. I really thought that was going to come back. That was like 2 pages. She finds this like pirate ship.
It's like times and there's
extremely intricate, and it like stuff on it moves around. And this is like 17 schmurschmer. Yeah. So, like, it's not like it's got a little motor in there.
This is the Georgian period.
Stop it. I think Stop. Shut your whore mouth right now. Stop it.
Because maybe the king's name is George. I don't know.
There's a Prince William, so it's probably nowadays.
Sorry. So, anyway, so he's been back there being a tinker toy man, like, using the tiniest screwdrivers in the world to the light of a single candle for 3 months.
But also he's been like looking in the little peepholes of the house. He's just watching everybody naked all the time.
Like seeing what they do.
But the consent in this book is fine, listener. It's fine.
Listen. So she knows that he knows that she's been a snooping about and has like literally caught her in the act and has probably been watching her snoop for 3 months because she has been systematically searching every single room in his house since she got there.
Would you like to know what he looks like?
Thank you, Erin. Yes, I leave that to you.
This really saves it. This really saves it. Okay. The Duke was neither a particularly large man nor what one would normally think of as intimidating. Quite the opposite, in fact. His face might have been carved by a Greek sculptor, so perfect were his cheekbones, lips, and nose. His eyes were of the clearest azure. I swear to God, the word azure.
Yeah, azure
is so much.
Yeah.
The azure is the French doors of the Duke of Sin. Okay. His curling hair was the color of polished guineas and quite gorgeous, which the Duke obviously knew since he wore it long, unpowdered, and tied at the nape of his neck with an enormous black bow.
With an enormous black velvet bow that he's been wearing for 3 months.
I almost said out loud to you just now, quit making me laugh, I'm trying to do something here. I don't know why. That's the whole point.
This is the show.
Okay. He wore an elegant purple velvet coat over a cloth of gold waistcoat embroidered in black and crimson. I love how flamboyant this man is.
Me too. He's such a dandy.
I love an elegant, flamboyant man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Fountains of lace fell from wrist and throat as he lounged in a winged armchair, one long leg thrust forward. Diamonds on the buckles of his shoes glinted in the candlelight. His grace was urbane male sophistication personified, but anyone who therefore dismissed him as harmless was a rank fool.
Rank fool.
Which is also
a stinky
an
fool.
Insult I would like to use. A stink idiot. That's you.
You. Okay, so I want to know how he's not just like floofing dust everywhere. Yes! He hasn't had a bath in 3 months.
Just come out? Has he not had a bath since he came out of the walls?
He has to ask people for a bath. Nobody can know he's there.
What if he asked Mehmet?
Mehmet is at an inn because he's been ill. And the little Alf, the little urchin, his personal urchin, Alf can't make a bath all by the onesie. That can't happen.
You're right. He's probably very stinky and dusty at this moment. I was thinking that maybe he had gotten cleaned up.
There's no fucking way. Like there is. And also he has a valet that has to dress him anyway. I don't think he knows how to dress himself, this Duke of Fuckgumry.
So it's a Duke of Fuckgumry. All right. Okay.
Wait. So now tell them about the palm bite. You have to tell them about it, Erin.
Okay. So like he does be like, okay. So he does be like, come over here. Which
get closer to me.
I was really into the moment where he beckoned her closer with his forefinger, and she saw a flash of jeweled gold rings, and he's like, "Come here." I liked that. Then he just like held out his hands.
Yeah.
And she's like, what am I supposed to do? And he's like, put your hands on my hands. And then like she puts her hands on his hands. And he's like, I did fuck
this
slutty
Greek
lady
girl once
in Greece who did say that she could like tell all the futures of somebody by their palms. And especially that like fleshy bit under your thumb, like
the Venus's mount. The Mount of Venus, maybe.
The Mount Venus. Yeah. The more chubbier that is, the more hot you are in bed. The better smoocher that you are.
I'm just gonna look how
big old
serious mine is.
Clumpy one right there. Sorry, we were holding our Venus mounds up to the camera.
If you're a patron, you saw the video.
Yeah. So he says that, and she's like, okay. And then he just leans forward and bites her thumb.
Bites the shit out of her mound of Venus. Out of her mound.
And she's like,
Erin.
Eep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stop saying mound. But she's like, eep. And she backs up and she like flees the room. Mm-hmm. And like, okay, here's what I want to know.
I would like to have an answer for you.
Because you're not going to. I don't know why. Here's the thing. You're going to have a lot of questions when you read this book, and you're not going to have any
not a single answer. I fucking love this book. I don't know if I made that clear. I loved it. Start to finish. I loved it.
I knew it was going to be batshit because it was a recommendation from HB
Jackie, thank
who
you.
only reads batshit books.
We love
but
you.
I still was not prepared for how batshit it was going to get. But so I thought when he did bite her thumb that we were probably in the middle. Like, you know how, like, we started it after his, like, first being sex weird at her. You know what I mean? Like, do you think this is the first time he was, like, weird at her?
No, because he was there
like, from here on out,
weeks.
he's constantly licking her.
Oh, or like biting her lips out of nowhere.
Wait, are you telling me she only worked for him
for two weeks before he got banished?
Okay. So he has become obsessed with her when he lived in the walls like a rat. Okay.
He became obsessed with her as he systematically spied on her every single day that he had no entertainment while living in the dusty walls of his own house like a specter, like a poltergeist, Erin. That's where his head's at right now. He has been in super time quarantine. Oh, hey, HBs. I don't know if you've heard, but we have a Patreon. For as little as $5 a month, you get over 150 bonus episodes, most of which include Erin, videos of regular episodes, author hangouts, and so much more. Do you want to hear Erin and I recap every single episode of Crash Landing on You? What about a little film called Psycho Stripper? Do you want more recaps of ridiculous Thanksgiving and other holiday books and movies? And how do you feel about Naima Simone and I recapping amazing reality TV? All of that and more is on the Patreon. There's so much content at your fingertips as soon as you sign up. Seriously, hours and hours. Anyway, it's patreon.com/Heaving Bosoms Podcast if you want to check it out. And of course, that link is in the show notes. Keep being a badass.
Why did I think it was so hot when he was looking at her hands and he noted the calluses that were earned in his service?
Oh.
Why was that hot to me?
Because you're just a sensible
human
person
woman?
with normal reactions to everything. Because I definitely did go, oh. Oh, golly.
Hello.
Okay, so listen. I already told you that she's the bastard of an aristocratic lady who the Duke is blackmailing. So she's like, I can't get fired. He just basically saw me stealing from him or like doing a big try to steal from him. And I could get fired at any moment. That's what she thinks he's going to do when he does bite her palm.
Yes, but then he doesn't do that.
And so he's like, go get me a bath. I desperately need a bath. And she has the audacity to be like, it's 2 a.m. And I'm like, no, it is 3 months late. It's been you're using the wrong time frame here, bitch. So while that's happening, Alf the urchin comes in.
Who cares?
I know.
I'm sorry.
Alf never comes back. I think maybe Alf is the next generation of historical bonkers novels.
Maybe. Okay, if she's setting up a different book with Alf, like
I'm into it.
Okay, I guess. Fine. But like Alf the urchin, who like helps him out, who's like a girl who's pretending to be a boy.
Yeah, so I'm not going to pronoun Alf at all because I don't know Alf, and so I don't know whether.
Oh, to me, it felt pretty clear that she was just dressing as a boy for like her own self-protection in the streets of London,
and that might be the case.
That was the impression,
but
that
I don't know that.
Yeah, true. What I do know is that characters named Alf have a dubious track record with cats. And so does this book. And I don't think Ms. Hoyt did it on accident.
Holy fuck, that's one of the funniest things you've ever said. Oh, no. I didn't even make that connection, but you're so right. Oh no!
I just could not believe that we just had a completely superfluous character named Alf running around this book. Because I would say no less than 20 cats die in this book.
No, he says it's dozens of them. So at least 24.
Yeah.
At least minimum 24 cats over the span of 6 years. And I don't find that funny. It's just
No.
bonkers.
If they were real cats, I would be disturbed.
I mean, this would be a punishable offense by a crime for me.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be a big crime.
At the $1 million level, I can tell you some stories that you don't want to hear.
Completely.
It is very much punishable by a crime.
Yes.
But these are fiction cats who aren't real.
Right. Yes. They are narrative devices, is what they are.
They are. These cats were refrigerated so that we could have a disturbed dude.
That's right. They get refrigerated to inflict trauma upon our plucky hero.
Plucky hero. All right, here we go. Okay,
Sorry.
so what does Alf do?
Is going to go deliver a ransom letter to a king's man. And then he gets ready for his bath, and he notices when they bring the water in that she has hidden all of the comeliest maids and footmans from him.
Yeah.
And it's because she's excellent at her job. So then he's like, "Oh ho ho, Mrs. Crumb, you think you're gonna put a damper on my bed sport?" And then it says that he does. "Come hither, the oldest, witheriest footman," and he like whispers into his ear. And so Melody's sitting there, and I'm like, "Okay, Duke. Okay, yes. Let's get some footman times on." And I was really, really excited about it. Now, listen, we're going to skip over all the times that we see side characters freaking out about blackmail. But that does happen.
I'm sorry. Wait. Would we say
yes,
when the head housekeeper in the house believes that she must hide the most attractive servants from the Duke of Montgomery, just in case that this is a guy who like loves consent and it's his favorite thing?
She doesn't know him.
I think she knows him.
No, I think that she just has heard
bit her thumb.
all of the stories.
The stories, exactly.
The stories are they are overblown, and they do not take into account the secret feelings of all of his paramours.
Sure.
You know,
okay. So
the
we're
ones that
skip
aren't necessarily expressed out loud to him.
Fair enough. Okay.
And we're also disregarding all the kidnappings because it's not the same thing.
Okay. So we're going to skip the side characters. And I just want you guys to know, hey, writers who listen to podcasts, both of you, listen up. If you're flashing around to characters that aren't either of the main characters, stop it. I was so mad every time I had to read about villain. Like, they didn't need this.
This wasn't villain.
I was mad
this was
about
character
Hugh
of next
Fitzroy,
book.
the villain. Oh, is he?
I'm sure. I'm certain that's what was happening.
I don't want to read about that
because
guy.
his wife just died. I have a feeling he's going to be a widower in a future book.
Single.
And he is a noble.
All right, okay.
He's a noble. He's a noble rough man for the king, bastard son of king. Rough man.
I don't know. I don't think I want to read about that guy.
No, I definitely don't want to read about
He
it.
does take treason real serious, though, which is pretty hot.
Yeah, which is hilarious because he will
do some treason.
Okay, so first of all, he will do some
serious.
treason. But also, he does not consider pedophilic rape to be worse than treason.
A problem. Right.
Which I take issue with that, and I know it's a hot take. Okay?
When I said he took it real serious, I meant real serious.
Real. Illogically serious.
Okay, so basically, just generally what's happening is that Val, our hero, the Duke of Montgomery, is blackmailing the king with some letters about Prince William, the king's son.
Who's a part of a dolphin club.
Who is part of a club called the Dolphin Knights
the Lords of Chaos.
Who do rape for fun children.
Yes.
Trigger warning.
It's so hard to talk about because it's everywhere in this book.
It's everywhere. So it's like a pedophile club.
Listen, it's what QAnon thinks is happening in here times in America now. And like, I don't know. Listen, I think that these things did not exist in merry old England. I'm not going to say that. I'm definitely not going to say that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, sure. But okay, so Prince William is a part of it. And so he's blackmailing, Duke of Montgomery is blackmailing the king with some letters from Prince William that are like, "Dear Lords of Chaos, can't wait to be a pedophile tonight with you guys.
Can't wait to
my
murder
favorite,
a child.
Love Prince William, seal of the king." Why are all these people writing so many letters all the time? So, okay, so that's what Alf is out there doing, and that's what the villain's out there.
And listen, I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I don't even think that Montgomery is asking for enough. You know? All he wants is a nod from the fucking king in Hyde Park so that everybody knows that he's not banished times anymore. And
so that he can unbanish.
That seems like not enough to keep that under wraps, because do we want that guy being the king later? Is that what we want? That's a thing that's like totally
I don't know
okay?
He can do much about that. But he doesn't use all the letters. He has additional letters so he can keep asking for stuff, which is
that's
smart.
true. He is a smart man.
So, okay, so that's what's going on there.
So then she gets called up to his room because he wants her to know just how much she has not gotten in the way of his bed sport.
Right.
And so now is when I am crushed. My heart has been crushed. Erin, I am a big disappoint because instead of that
he didn't
old
have sex with that
footman,
old footman?
No. There's just like 2 sex workers in there. And like, fine. She is getting a beach when she walks in. And that's not terrible.
Imagine, today is the day. We have so desensitized Melody. Today is the day that a menage with 2 sex workers that the heroine walks in on because he wants her to is not enough for Melody. She wants an old man there too.
I was just excited.
This is the day. This is what happens when you read too many books. And you're like, no, I need an old man in the room or it's not enough for me. Melody. That's a quote from Melody.
Love, Melody. Seal of the king.
And I need the consent to be dubious because I need that man to be an employee.
You're so right. Listen, now she feeds a stray dog. And then he visits his sister. Erin just freaked the fuck out on mute. That's true, that happened. She feeds this cute little terrier pup. And then he visits his sister because she's about to marry a tradesman. And what we need to know, the only thing we need to know about the sister is that she is a paragon of goodness and purity and the thing he loves most in the world.
He super loves her.
And he's protected her his whole life. And she's like the most important pillar of his history and future, his sister.
Yes.
She is marrying a tradesman. He does happen to be a brewer, which I feel like is sniffed at way too much in this book. Thank you very much, Lord of Montgomery.
Sure.
But anyway, she's like, I love him, and he loves me. And he's like, love? What is this thing, love? So he goes home and he asks Bridget about it.
What be love?
What? How
What's
love?
love?
Why love?
How to
Why
love, housekeeper?
And she's like, well,
so strange.
Love is the most precious of all human emotions, and it's the bedrock of all the good societies of the world, and it's the purest, best thing. And he's like, you've never been in love, have you? And she's like, well, no. Okay. And then she asks him if he's been in love, and he's like, I don't have the essential part to make that happen, and I never will.
Mm-hmm. He is not talking about a penis. He is talking about like a heart part.
He has that essential part.
He has one. He has one. All right. Anyway, Melody.
Also, he has decorated he calls his house Hermes' house, and it is ornate, first of all. But he has decorated it in a bunch of naked paintings and statues of Hermes, but they are modeled after him. And so the whole time she's been there, she's been like, nah, he's not packing that. That seems like it's too much. But then later she finds out that it is true to life.
Yes. What did get this book on our list is the huge oil painting in his room of himself naked.
That's Hermes.
And the very in-depth description of that big naked oil painting. Because
basically him standing there with a lion.
This was recommended, believe it or not, right after we did 365. And I was like, I have a new kink, and it's huge oil paintings of the hero.
And Jackie was like, I can do you one better.
Jackie was like, do I have a book for you? And the screenshot that like convinced me to put this on our list was the very in-depth description of this painting, which did include his quote, furried balls.
Which she calls comely later. And then she puts an asterisk on that, and it's like, if such things could be called comely.
Yeah. Apparently they can, because we just did it.
Apparently you did it. Boy, this thing is a masterpiece from start to fucking finish. All right.
Yes.
Where were we, though? Oh, this is when she goes through the hidey hole, and she finds out that he's been sitting in there, not just with books, not just with little gear shaft pirate ships, but also he's just been rereading her letter of reference.
Mm-hmm.
He's just been reading a letter of reference that she used to get a job.
Okay.
And she did not find this to be anything of note.
Super weird. No. She just takes that reference. When she finds it, she just takes that letter of reference.
Puts it back in her pile.
Puts it back in our drawer of her letters of reference.
For the next job, I guess.
Let's get this out here now. This book has a lot of trigger warnings for a lot of weird, bad stuff.
Yeah.
One thing that it does not have is a psychiatrist or psychologist, any kind of mental health help. Mm-mm. And the Duke of Montgomery is batshit crazy and remains that way at the end. He does not get any kind of help,
he does not chill out at all
for his extreme mental health problems.
He just puts it onto a sweeter fixation. He just turns that and like puts a tiny sweet gilding on it. Mm-hmm. And that's about
This is a morality chain book.
It is.
However, I don't know that he is completely
that
chained.
The chain had all the links. The chain might be missing some links.
It's a pretty weak chain she's got him on at the end. Like, doesn't murder her is the, like, triumph of this book. That's the grand gesture.
That's actually spot on.
I know.
Oh, my God. Okay. So now... Oh, and then this is where we find out that she wears an ugly mob cap all the time. Mm-hmm. Because she does have one white streak, like young Frankenstein's ex-fiancé.
Yes!
Yes. Uh-huh. Good stuff, that.
Dark hair, one white streak.
Yes. And so now he calls her into the dining room during lunch, and she's worried. She's constantly worried he's gonna fire her.
Right.
Oh, and this is where she decides that, like, she can't get fired, but it's only because in order to find, you know, all this stuff, she has to understand him. Mm-hmm. And to understand him, she definitely needs to spend more time with him. And it's just for spy stuff, though. Spy reasons.
But, like, when he was with those two ladies and he called her into the room and then they scampered out, he nearly made out with her, too.
Oh, yeah.
And again, totally naked. And,
completely nude.
Yeah. Anyway, just wanted to say that they nearly made out that time.
And I have to say, when he's not completely nude, he is only wearing a gold-embroidered purple silk banyan.
It's got pink, it's got purple, it's got a golden dragon on the back sometimes. I love it. I love it so much.
I'm obsessed with it.
I'm very obsessed with his loungewear.
Oh.
I love how flamboyant he is.
It's very Sung Joon, but only in the summertime, you know?
Sure.
Sung Joon's winter is very, like, you know.
We're talking about Crash Landing on You.
Sorry, that's Crash Landing on You.
Understand that, like, men in sequins is something in my brain that is broken from figure skating. I know
that's
that
not
my
broken.
Years of competitive figure skating have broken my brain a little bit.
It's not broken in a bad way. That's you breaking free of the chains of toxic masculinity is what that is.
Yeah, but
or it could be the fact that you dated so many actual gay men.
So many actual gay men. And a couple of straight figure skaters.
I mean, that too.
Yes.
They exist, goddammit. All right. Anyway, instead, he thinks that it is so hot that she walks to him and she's got this fiery gaze and she's so self-possessed. And then he's like, you gotta sit down. And her gaze flicks to his mouth and it's a whole thing. And then, he gets around, like, the conversation goes somewhere and he's like, you know, people often do the worst things. And she's like, oh, I know. And he's like, she's so interesting, especially right now. I wonder what her story is. Want to trauma bond, Duke of Montgomery says. And then he says she has to eat with him. Mm-hmm. And then he asks, why hasn't she been in love? And she's like, because it would inconvenience me. I like my job. I like my independence.
Sure.
And then he gets, I think, maybe heaving bosoms' first admiration boner.
Yes. He just pops one right there.
Hard ass admiration burner.
Yes.
It's good shit. He's like, oh, fuck. Like, it's also kind of a competency boner because she's, like, so confident in her capabilities, but it's also just an admiration boner. Okay. So now, Alf comes in with another blackmail response. The only reason this matters is because when he writes the letter back, she's like, I thought you were left-handed. Because he is writing with his right.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, oh, my father thought that was like the worst sin ever.
Right.
And so he definitely fixed that in me.
Yeah.
And then he's like, is she going to ask? Is she going to ask about my pain? And she doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So they move on. So, so now she catches up with Lady Care. She's like, I still don't have those letters. Sorry.
That's her mom.
Yeah. And on the way home, she does find, trigger warning for animal abuse, she does find a group of boys kicking the shit out of that terrier dog she loves feeding.
This scene was so confusing to me.
Really?
So, yes!
Okay.
Because, she finds some boys abusing her dog.
Yeah.
Okay. She screams. She runs up to the situation. Then the Duke of Montgomery is there. He fires a gun.
Yeah.
To scare off the boys. He is wearing hot pink.
Urchins
he scares
be gone,
off those
he says.
Boys. Yeah. And then the dog is fine. And she's like sitting there, like on the ground, I think, holding the dog and crying.
Because it's tied up somewhere.
Yes. And he helps her. He gives her a knife maybe it's a special gold dagger.
No, very specifically. No. Very specifically, she wears this thing around. She wears a lanyard, basically, an England Times lanyard around her neck all the time, and it has all the keys, and it has a thimble probably, and like a knife and other shit. And so he does come up behind her and like squat behind her and reach around with both hands to grab the knife off of her England Times lanyard and hand it to her so that she can then cut the dog free.
I have a great story about a lanyard that I'm not going to tell you for time, but just no. Anyway, so he's behind her, sitting there. Her back is to his chest.
Yeah.
And then she's crying over her dog.
Yeah.
And then he moves his face around to her face.
He snakes his head around.
Then he slurps up some tears with his Duke tongue. And then he says, your tears taste like salvation. What is that? Hell? What is that? Can you imagine a situation where your dog has just been abused? Your boss decides that the best way to unleash the dog is to come around behind you and take your. I didn't know that he took her knife, but I knew that she was ensconced by him.
Yeah.
And then he licks your tears.
Licks them up.
And she doesn't even be like, what?
No.
She's just like, yes, I do. I do taste like salvation.
Don't I know?
What?
There's hard angel metaphors going on all throughout with the way he views her. So then, listen, I might not blink as long as he gave me the dog, which is what he does after this. He's like,
sure,
you can have dog, bring it inside the house. And she's like, I can't do that. I am but your servant. It's against the rules. And he says, fuck those rules. So now she has a dog, and his name is Pip. And now she knows for a fact that her tears taste like salvation, and I think that's something she can take with her for the rest of her life.
Yes, that's a great reference.
Yeah. So now, skills. Tears taste like salvation. Also, can beat a carpet. Know how to make silver polish. Did I mention the tears? Okay.
Great management skills.
So, she says, I didn't know you liked dogs. And he says, I don't, but you do.
Yeah.
Morality chain. Okay. So now one of the blackmail victims, the Duke of Kyle, the king's illegitimate son, is rifling through his library trying to find those letters. And everybody always thinks it's in his library. That's not where I would keep them, were I the Duke of Montgomery, but that's fine.
Yeah, I don't know.
So she gets called to the room, and he is wearing that purple silk robe, and they're doing a knife fight in his purple silk robe.
He's
naked,
so
otherwise.
Obsessed with this knife fight.
Me too.
You know how I love a man who can't fight.
Yes.
And he is losing hard, and he's naked in his silk robe that is pink and purple and all the girl colors, which I love.
Love it.
And then he's fighting this man who's so much bigger than him and so much better at having a sword.
Yes.
And he has a tiny pocket knife.
He has his little dagger. I just love it's a curved one too.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't have that yet.
Sorry.
So he's fighting him with his pocket knife, and then the guy definitely wins times 1,000.
Yeah. He's got him pinned.
And is just like, stop fighting me all the time because you are done. Just give it up and give me the letters. And then he takes from where does this dagger come from? All he's wearing is a silk robe.
I love it. He takes it out and he basically his other hand
because he is
I'm ambidextrous, bitch.
Ambishmervious. And then he does put it on his neck.
Yes.
And then he does this great speech about how he's a big murderer all the time.
Yes.
And will just murder.
Oh, wait, can I just want to read it to you real quick. Is that okay?
Yeah, I have things I want to read too. We'll see if it's the same.
Great. He's like, you know what the biggest sin you did today was? You frightened my housekeeper, and I am not into it.
Yes.
So then the Duke of Kyle is like, there would be repercussions should I not return. Montgomery's eyes widened, blue and guileless. You see, this is the difference between you and me. When you make a statement like that, you think it will sway me. It doesn't. I don't care. I could kill you as easily as stepping on an ant, and with far less remorse. Perhaps I'd face repercussions on the morrow. Perhaps not. But that is for the sunrise. Tonight, the shadows reign and the blood is singing in my veins. My very muscles tremble with the urge to carve the meat from your bones.
My God.
Tell me. He swept his arms wide. Who in this whole dissolute world is to dissuade me from my pleasures?
Yeah, and then Bridget's kind of like,
grab his arm.
Me.
She's like, hi,
it's me.
Still here.
Please don't murder housekeeper Big Mess.
Big Mess?
Please don't. But he also Big Mess. He also does that whole speech about her name, like in front of everybody. Yeah. That's like,
oh, I've got that too. Wait,
housekeeper.
So he leaves, and the Duke brought her hand to his mouth, and his azure eyes glittering in the candlelight. He pressed a kiss to the inside of her wrist, and then the edge of his teeth. She felt the warm softness of his lips, the prickle of stubble against tender skin, and a sort of shock seemed to go straight through the center of her body. He let her go, and her wrist felt cold in the night. Seraphine, the burning one. I should have known. No, yours was different. Yours was when he was like, she won't tell me her name.
Because while the Duke was still there, the King's Duke, the other Duke, the bastard King Duke, Hugh, he, like, the housekeeper comes in. I think there's a couple other people in there too. So Bridget's there.
Yeah, he's like, everybody leave but Bridget and her dog.
It's my housekeeper. She won't tell me her Christian name, so I have to think of one. And then he goes through all these different names. He's like, should I call her this, the innocent? Should I call her this, the passionate? And it's like, you are standing here, like, dick out with a gold dagger pressed to the neck of the son of the king in the most ridiculous silk robe in front of everyone who works for you. And you're just like raving about just crazy shit.
I'm in love with him.
And I
am trash for him.
I'm trash for him.
It's like over. I am a mess for him.
Yep. I am a raccoon. I'm just gobbling it up. Duke of Montgomery.
That wrist bite, Erin. She's grazing his teeth on shit.
Oh yeah, I love a wrist bite.
So he's like, please take him out because I don't want him rifling through anything else. And so she bandages him up first because she's a little curious. And he's like, hey, please work for me. He is a devil. And she's like, sure, Jan. And then she's like really confused because why wouldn't she team up with this noble Duke of why not?
Right. He's right. She knows him to be a villain. He's blackmailing her mom. And then as she's
questioning herself, she said, had she sold her honor for a handful of kisses, a bite, and a lick? I think so.
Then
I'm not going to throw stones, Okay, so now Val gets his kingly nod. Mission accomplished.
Yep.
Oh, and now we find out about Mehmed, why he's there with the Duke, and it's because the Duke, like...
trigger warning for Mehmed.
Yeah, the Duke, like, saves him from eunuchdom and slavery, and then he brings him to England, is what happens.
To kind of be his slave. I was really kind of, like, dubious about the Duke as a hero because he saved Mehmed. Because, like, there was, like, a sultan. There was, like, a powerful guy who, like, hated Mehmed's dad and was just going to cut off his manhood and then make him a slave. And then the Duke's like, no, I'll pay you dollars to make him come to England and be my servant and wait on me hand and foot. And he gets to keep the penis, which I don't think is like that great. Like, just set him free.
I mean, wouldn't that be nice? I think he is free. He's getting paid or whatever, but...
Sure. But I was just kind of like, it was a little squishy for me. Okay.
Oh, I hear you. So now she gets called to his room again because he's always calling to her room. And he is in the bath waxing philosophic about what an idiot Galileo is. And also Newton.
Yes.
And she's like...
And she's very like, also Kepler. Because he's very like, why don't we get sucked into the sun?
Yeah, and she's like, well, it's because of the Earth's momentum. I read a book by Kepler. And he's like, whoa. My housekeeper's so smart.
Wow.
Look at this brain. And then he does offer her to have a free run of his library. Very, very sexy move in Romancelandia and everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, we're throwing a ball. Congratulations. You need to do a month's worth of work in 2 weeks.
He asks her if she's been reading his books, and he asks her if she's been fondling his spines, which I really enjoyed as he lay naked in the bath while she stand there awkwardly. Yes, but now we're going to do a ball. It's in 2 weeks, and it's a ball.
Yeah, and she does it, and it's fucking rad.
Mm-hmm.
The Duke talks to this old, withered, evil man called the Duke of Dymore.
Yes.
And he was a friend of his dad's. He is now the leader of the Lords of Chaos, which still exist, and this shocks Montgomery quite a bit.
They do all have dolphin tattoos. Old-timey 1700s dolphin tattoos.
And listen, I forgot to Google this, so this is bad on me, but later on, he's like, because his father used to be the leader of this, murderous rape club. And so he was like, he was their Dionysus. And so everyone got Dionysus Dolphin tattooed on them. And I was like, did Dionysus have a dolphin? Is that a thing? Like, it is.
I don't know. I don't know if there's
I've never heard
something
that
with Dionysus
before.
And dolphins.
And I'm not like a Greek mythology slump,
Yeah. All I could think about the whole time was like those people who try to have sex with dolphins, trigger warning, because like they think they like it. That's out there in the world.
Is
and
it?
that's all I could think about. Yes.
Wow. All I could think about was how
It's
appropriate
terrible.
it is since dolphins like gang rape and stuff.
Yes, that too. Yeah.
It's really appropriate
Anyway,
for this current
they all
club.
have dolphin tattoos. I
Yeah.
also thought a lot about a gentleman that I served with in the military who had a lower back tattoo of 2 dolphins and a sunset. Because
I'm obsessed with that. How did you not marry him?
he was already married to
Damn
a
it.
wonderful woman.
Damn it! Good for her.
But he was great, and he got this tattoo when he was like 13 and didn't realize that like that was a bad move for his like future adult life. He was like, I really like dolphins and sunsets and the beach. And I'm like a surfer guy, so I'm gonna get a lower back tattoo of a couple of dolphins jumping in the ocean.
I'm obsessed with that.
And
That
man, the moment that was spotted, we never stopped.
Never. So anyway, Dymore is like, you should take your place as the heir of the Lords of Chaos kingdom. And he's like, yeah, maybe. It sounds like a way I can get a lot of power really quickly. And then his sister comes at him for blackmailing people, and he's very taken aback because he's like, the only good thing about him is how much he loves his sister and how, like, he's bent over backwards.
Yes.
Gone to great lengths to protect his sister. And so the fact that she knows him to be a liar and, like, a blackmailer and doesn't like any of that is, like, sort of like a mortal wound to him.
Bing, boom, bong, bird click.
Yes.
Listen,
Yeah.
I've Googled Dionysus and dolphins.
Oh, thank you.
Apparently, there was something involving Dionysus and a pirate ship, and he did turn some stuff to snakes, and then all the pirates jumped off of the boat,
Okay.
and so they wouldn't drown. He did turn them into dolphins, and Dionysus invented dolphins.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know the whole thing because I don't have time to read it because I am currently podcasting.
Sure.
But I do think that there might be a whole thing with the pirate ship that he was tinkering with and Dionysus and dolphins. And it might be a whole thing. It could be. I don't know. It could be a whole thing.
Look at you.
And maybe Hermes. It could be a whole thing that we completely just
Look at
missed
your
and went over our
sexy
heads.
hot brain that we are too
What I
low
did do
for.
was I did Google it.
Oh my God.
And then the first Google question was, did Dionysus create dolphins? And then I clicked on the little downward
Did
arrow
you?
and it did expand and it did say kind of because of something involving a pirate ship and a snake. And that is research and science.
Honestly, Erin, in this one moment, you have done professionalism in 2019. You have done remembering things
whatever it was
in 2021, which I can't remember about what we had to do in 2020. I don't know.
Intellectualism.
You did an intellectualism hard right now with all the research.
Man. And when I remembered intellectualism, I did remembering things in 2021.
And with all of that put together, you did a scientist in 2022.
Listen, you guys, we kind of decided on the last Patreon that we're going to be scientists in 2022. So watch out. We tried to do the scientific method drunk at the end of the last Patreon, and it was rough.
It was a time. Erin.
All right, okay.
You just, that was a culmination of all of our hard work in like 2 minutes, Erin. I am so proud of us because
Heaving bosoms, dumb bitches doing the bare minimum. Here you are. There you go.
Titty shake.
Here you are.
Okay. Oh boy, we're a mess.
Hey HBs, I started an Etsy store. Did you know? Right now, it's full of all the St. Vincent items you need because St. Vincent is thoughtful and cozy all year round. We've got a book sleeve to keep your books, planners, e-readers, or really anything else safe when you're on the go. The inside is fuzzy, and they feel so incredibly lush in your hands. I went round and round with the manufacturers to make sure I had just the right thickness. Those feature art of St. Vincent and Evie during their carriage adventure that was painted by the amazing Mayara Faraz on one side, and then I created a St. Vincent Would Always wreath on the other side that has a bunch of little Easter egg items in it. There's a St. Vincent Would Always warm brick enamel pin. It's like, if you know, you know. I designed a special edition Marriage of Convenience candle that is specific to Devil in Winter with the help of HB Jen at Post Pouring Company. It combines dark amber for St. Vincent and rosewood for Evie, and it smells so delicious. It's hard to even wrap my brain around. So if you want to treat yourself or be the St. Vincent you want to see in the world by getting a care package for a friend, check out our Etsy store. The link is in the show notes.
All right, so now...
All right, where are we?
So he's really sad about how his sister was just talking to him and what that means for like what she thinks about him. And so he is trying to find Seraphine because he's feeling very cold. And she's the only thing that can ever warm him up. And God damn it, she is his housekeeper. He says it's his job to warm him up anyway. On the way,
it's a job.
He does get waylaid by trying to blackmail himself a wife. So he coerces Hippolyta to dance with him. And then he's like, P.S., you just be expecting a proposal. And she's like,
expect to marry me. And she's like, oh no, I do hate you. Do you not care about that? And he's like, I don't.
Nobody likes me. It's great. And like,
point,
look at
I
this
feel
face.
I feel like she should have been pretty much like on notice of kidnapping.
Right?
Since she is the third one he's tried to kidnap. Like, he was banned. He kidnapped. He was banished. He returned about 2 weeks ago, and had this ball. And then he's like, you're next. And then she was like, oh, I respectfully decline. It's like, no, you're going to get kidnapped.
Yeah. Now that I remember the history, let's say, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, but so all of her orifices clench at this thought. And she goes and finds Bridget, and she's like, Bridge, did you find the thing? Can you? Like, fast, though, because he does want to marry me, and he's the worst person in the whole wide world. And Bridget's like, I'm on it. I'm doing my best. As an afterthought, though, like, he's not that bad. He likes to shock people, but when, like, you get him going on a topic that he really likes, he's actually a really fun conversationalist. And then she's like, holy fuck, what am I saying? Stop it! Button it up!
Button it up, Bridget!
It's so good. So then she goes into the ball for no kind of reason, the ballroom. He sees her immediately from across the room because he can detect her pheromones and her presence, her aura, anywhere. He does just walk away from a conversation, goes and grabs her by the hand. I will have you know, listener, drags her outside. Everybody like parts like the seas, she says, as he's walking them toward the door. And then he goes outside and she's like, it's cold. And he's like, it's not that cold. Get over it. And then he's like, you know, there once was a girl who I told there was a rabbit who lived on the moon. And then she's like, what are you talking about? And so he comes up behind her and he does this snuggle on her.
He is batshit crazy.
He's so nuts. I love it.
Anyway, he does a snurfle,
so
and he does use, like, go behind her and, like, point at the moon where the rabbit is.
Chest. And then she's like, what happened to the girl? And he's like, she grew up and she knew me for a liar. And then he, like, throws his wine glass on the ground and goes back into the ball.
God, he's so crazy.
No other words are spoken to poor Bridget.
Eve?
Yes.
Okay, because it never really circled back to Moon Rabbit.
No, it's because... No, because he... Remember, later on, he tells her how he used to take Eve up into the tallest tower, and they would have little picnics up there, and he would, like, tell her about the sky and stuff.
Sure. Okay.
So it doesn't...
We're over an hour in, and we haven't even gotten to dead cats.
I'm so sorry. Okay, listen. Okay, so here's what happens. When he walks in, this butler... No, this footman who, like, he has a history with that is concernicus, hands him a glass of wine, and he downs it and then, like, fucks off. So then the next morning...
He thinks, no one loves me, everyone hates me, I'm the Duke of Montgomery, and I'm the best.
And That's
what he thinks when he downs that wine. It's the best.
And then he starts going peacocking around.
Yeah.
So then the next morning, Mehmed comes up to Bridget, and he's like, the Duke is sick. There's something wrong with the Duke. I can't get in there. I've heard a moan, and it's bad. And she's like, no, it's fine, but, like, sure, we'll go check it out.
She's like, you sweet summer child, you're Muslim, you don't know about this. Englishmen drink a lot, and then in the morning,
he's just a
really
hangover
bad.
Right now.
Yeah, and Mehmed's like, no, I know about that. This is extra bad.
This is different. He has been poisoned hard, and he's covered in sick and maybe some shit.
Yes.
And he wasn't going to call anyone at all because he said that only Mehmed and Bridget may come in because he will not let his enemies into his room. And since he has no idea...
They got in because they broke in. So he was not even going to call them.
Yeah, she cattle chained her way in. So, isn't that what the lanyard's called? Cattle chain?
I don't know.
Listen,
I don't understand the lanyard. I don't get it.
Okay.
He at one point says it's like fancy.
Yeah, it's a
I
fancy
don't really
one.
understand. I don't get it. Anyway, it's her housekeeper lanyard.
Yeah, so she has to tend him for 3... Chatelaine? Listen, it doesn't matter. She has to take care of him for 3 days. And she's trying to, like, broth at him. And he keeps on throwing up in her lap. And he's also...
He does.
he's also...
like, sorry.
Yeah. Sorry about that. He's also having a lot of fever dreams in which we find out about the absolutely horrifyingly tragic abuse.
So here's
more trigger warning: child abuse, animal abuse, maybe others. That's it. I think.
I don't remember.
That's it. I think.
So what had happened was the Duke was left-handed, and the Duke father wanted him to write right-handed.
Yes.
So he did kill all the Duke's cats until he would write right-handed, and he did put them up on the wall like a medieval baby.
Oh no, you're right.
Nail them to the wall like a medieval knight in shining armor baby.
So this is where he gets the fuck the rules whole thing, because we see 4 different scenes at different ages of the Duke continuously doing this to his son. He'll be like, you need to write the correct way, and if you don't follow my rules, and then he murders a cat in front of his child. And then he's like...
Then he gives him a new cat.
Yeah, this is what's going to happen every time you break my rules. And then he keeps giving him all these fluffy little kittens.
Gives him more and more
kittens. And then as soon as he names them and falls in love with them, the Duke does kill it again.
So that he'll be right-handed.
And follow all the rules and stuff. And so then when he's 11, he's like, I need to take the power back. My father can't have power over me anymore. And so we watch him do his perfect Latin in his perfect right-handed handwriting. And then he sits back and his father comes in and he's all proud of himself. And the Duke is like, what's that over on the wall? Because he has murdered his own cat Tiger and hung it up on the wall like a medieval baby. And then he looks at his dad and he says, fuck your rules.
I'm killing my own cats for no reason.
No, so that you can't.
So that you can't. But, like, he was writing fine, so, like, maybe that one would have been okay. I don't know.
I don't think so. That's the problem.
It was never going to be good enough.
It was never going to be good enough.
Yeah.
His dad just wanted to torture him.
So he did start killing his own cats.
No, it was just the one.
That,
and then his dad never got him another cat because he was like, oh, that doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. So he developed the idea, well, from this and a different thing that did happen to him, that if he loves something, he does have to just kill it so that no one else can use it against him, or just not love in the first place.
And also be the most powerfulest in the whole wide world, because then you might be able to protect anything that you might come in the vicinity of love with.
Right.
So it's a
lesson learned by the Duke. No therapists in sight.
No, absolutely not. That is a ludicrous idea, Erin.
Yes.
So, now
it's murder time. So now, basically, he gets better, and he calls up the footman that did hand him the wine, and he makes sure that Bridget is there for this.
Yes. He's like, oh, good, Bridget. It is really late in the night. Please come into my room. Oh, you know Cal, don't you? Great.
Yeah.
Glad everybody is all acquainted.
He wants Bridget, I think, this is what I think, to witness all of his worst stuff.
Yeah.
So that he can circle back and be like, am I evil? Like, what's your take on me?
And also,
basically,
later on, I think, I feel like later on he makes it pretty clear that he's trying to scare her away before he can have any feelings for her, even though he knows deep down that he is definitely already having feelings for her.
Mm-hmm.
And so his whole thing is like, by the end of this scene, he's like, do not ever convince yourself that I am the hero of this piece. I am the villain and I will always be the villain. That's it. Mm-hmm. Don't expect anything else.
But he does kind of use her as a reflection.
Oh, completely.
Like, he keeps being like, "Hey, what's your take on this murder I just
totally.
did? What do you think about that?" So he does like call up this footman.
This is the sexiest murder I've ever seen in my life. I'm so sorry.
Take it away.
I'm so sorry. So Cal is there, and like we find out a lot about Cal.
Mm-hmm.
He was abused by the Duke's mom and sort of convinced himself by the end that he was in love with her. And his mom hated him. We found out about that a lot. And so now he's like, why are you trying to murder me up? This is ridiculous. Like, I couldn't have stopped her from hurting you throughout our whole life. We were the same age when she pulled you into her bed. And that was young.
14, I think.
It was
so also trigger warning for not quite pedophilia, but like a little bit older.
But like, what's
hebephilia.
What's the upper one? What's the
hebephilia.
one above? Hebephilia. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. So now, so he's like, you're the devil.
Him.
And then he's like, oh, because Cal then says, you were jealous. And then he starts talking about how he knows the information that can get the Duke hanged. And so then the Duke, listen, the whole time he's been dick forward in his purple banyan. He has been flashing the knife the whole time they've been chatting.
Yes.
And he just says, enough! And then he throws his robe to the ground.
He wants to be naked for murder time.
He can't get blood on his beautiful robe.
Oh my God.
That's exactly why he takes it off.
Right. That's exactly why he did it.
Why he takes it off. He will not dirty his robe.
I thought he just wanted to be naked, but you're right. It's a special favorite robe. I am a raccoon for this man.
Trash.
Oh God. Okay.
And so he advances on him. I want it noted for the record that he murders. This is one of the reasons this is the sexiest murder I've ever seen. He employs both a stab and a slash, Erin.
Just like heaving bosom style.
So he stabs him 3 times, and then he very slowly and luxuriously,
lazily, it described.
Lazily, thank you. He does slit
He's like
his
bored
throat.
by the time he slits his neck. It's love aboard murder. Love aboard murder.
It's sexy, and I'm sorry about it. But it's true.
He did have a really good reason because that guy did try to kill him.
And later on, Elizabeth Hoyt is very smart because when it shifts to his perspective and he's explaining like what happened the rest of the night afterwards, he's like, I didn't even take time to explain to Seraphine that it's actually kinder to die with a quick stab and a slash instead of hanging from a rope after being drugged through the streets. And,
sure, Jan.
yeah, right.
Okay.
It's so crazy.
Because, like, here's the thing. I liked it when he had reasons. When it became vigilante justice, I recoiled. Like, I was like, ugh, I don't know.
You don't like a
that.
vigilante justice.
I don't like a vigilante. You know how I split hairs.
Okay, so this is... Wait, I'm sorry. I just have to read this. He goes up to her and he smiles sweetly. Like a boy, she says, as if he were a young boy. And he says, this is who I am, Seraphine. Naked with a blade and blood. I am vengeance. I am hate. I am sin personified. Never mistake me for the hero of this tale, for I am not and shall never be. I am the villain. And he laid his lips over hers and pushed his hot tongue into her mouth and kissed her until she couldn't breathe, and it was only later that she found the bloodstains on her dress. And I am just the hungriest trash panda. I'm just diving into that dumpster.
But and they didn't always read about it. It clips off from that kiss, and I was pissed. I want to read about that whole kiss.
It would be a good one. So now, the next day, everybody's a little bit skittish. He doesn't understand why, you know?
What's the deal?
And then he's like, I know that my housekeeper is also a little bit dubious about me at the moment. I'm just going to be patient. And in a couple of days...
She did say before the murder that she thought she was falling in love with him. Like during the nursing back to health situation. Also during the nursing back to health situation, she did find that portrait for Hippopotamus.
Yes, I forgot about that. So she has returned the portrait to Hippolyta. And she's safe now. Oh, and we find out the reason there was blackmail is that it's a miniature portrait of her dad, her mom, and her as a baby. And I think it's the only documentation that her mom was South Asian.
Yes.
And so in aristocracy times, that is apparently, I hate them.
Yes.
So now he decides in this moment, he's like, my housekeeper is a little on the fence about me, but she did. I think it says like suckle my tongue back or something. Oh,
yeah, she was into it. And then he finds that she got that portrait out. Like he goes to check his little hidey hole for the portrait, and he finds that she got it, even though he was conscious because he saw her take it, and she said, "You villain," and he goes, "You saint."
And he just thought she was like on his bed with her skirts rucked up, and he was still a little too befevered to make heads or tails of it.
Right,
but she was stealing that back.
When he finds the empty hidey hole, he gets a boner.
Huge boner. I'm telling you, this guy, he's always calling her magnificent and never more than when she's beating him at his own games. He gets so hard for it. He is such an admiration boner hero, and I love it. So he finds this out because Hippolyta sends him a note that says she won't be receiving him now or ever. And he's like, I'm going to blackmail her now. Finds out it's not there. Gets the admiration boner. And then he's like, I cannot wait to see what she's going to do when she realizes that I've outmaneuvered her in our in my next play in our personal game of chess. Like, he's so hard for this. So now he wakes her up at like 3:30 in the morning because they're going to go to his country seat at Ainsdale Castle. And he makes her ride with him and Mehmed, and he says Pip can come too. They do have some carriage tea, and then there is a carriage snuggle, an accidental carriage snuggle.
Yeah, she like falls asleep on him.
Yeah. And he finds out that she started working at 12 and that she loves
I really liked this.
Yeah.
Because in chapter 1, she starts to just kind of like tell him about her childhood. Like they're just making conversation. He's like, bleh. Yeah, he's like, you're so boring.
Yeah,
he's like, tell me about your childhood. And she's like, well, I was born. And he's like, oh, I hate it already. Stop talking. And then in the carriage, he's like, tell me about your upbringing. And she's like, the last time I told you about my upbringing, you thought it was boring. And he's like, but now I'm interested.
Yep.
And so she starts telling him, like, she doesn't say, she acts like her foster parents basically were her parents.
Right.
And talks to him about, her childhood and how she learned to read and write and blah, 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 blah.
And how she had to go into service at 12.
Yes. When she starts telling him about that, then he's like, oh, go on, I'm interested. And then he's like, when I first asked, I wasn't actually interested. Like this time around, even though I said I was interested, I wasn't. But now I am.
I love him. I love it so much. So anyway, he's like, why did your parents send you away at 12? That sounds awful, especially since, it seems like they loved you and stuff. And she's like, well, I had to learn a trade. That had to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I love being a housekeeper. And she starts like talking about how much she loves being so good at her job, and especially so young, and how much she learned and all this kind of stuff. And he gets a big competence boner for her, but it's not even that. It's that he thinks it's sexy how confident she is in her own capabilities. And that's like a whole different level. It's like competence and admiration boner all mixed up together in this sexy raccoon trash pile. So, all right. So now they have to drive there for days straight. And she's like, why the breakneck pace?
Hated it.
Oh, yeah. It's horrible.
Well, they're going to his home castle. I don't know if we said this.
And so at the house, they finally get there. She tries to work immediately. She's like, oh, who's the housekeeper? Who's the cook? Where can we do this? How do we open the rooms?
Well, this place has been abandoned for a decade. It's dusty and gross, and there's no food there or anything. Yeah. They have not been keeping this castle very nice. Yeah. And she's pissed.
And so he does grab her, though, and he's like, stop working. I did not bring you here to be on staff. And he takes her up to his bedroom to like get the personal provisions that he has in his, picnic chests. And she's like, well, then why did you bring me here? I'm very confused. And he goes, I brought you here because I like you. And then he yells at the maids to get out.
Yes.
And she's like, she's getting whiplash here because he'll say something so sweet to her and then just be an utter asshole. And she's like, you can't talk to people like that, even if they're your servants. And he's like, no, I can talk to them like that because they're my servants. I pay them to be here. I am the Duke.
Right.
Well, I don't deserve them. I don't owe them anything else.
So she says, what if somebody treated you like that? And he said, if somebody treated me like that, I would cut off their nose and I would feed it to them. And she's like, but what if somebody treated me like that? And then he gets all weird and squirrely. It makes his brain go squiggles. And then he's like, I understand. You are also made.
Before he says anything, she grabs the apple out of his hand, takes a bite, chews, and then leaves the room without another word. And he has such a confused boner right now. It's a lot. So now, the next morning, she's talking to the servants and doing a check on everything. And she does find out that Hippolyta is in the dungeon. She's just been down there. So she's mad about it and stuff. And
she is not down there by choice.
No.
She hates
it.
She
got a big kidnapped and she's being held against her will. And so she's mad about it. He's confused about why she's mad about it, but he is very turned on as to how violently she is reacting to it.
Oh, yeah.
Because she goes up there and she does a big confront.
He had previously fantasized about her physically attacking him when she finds this out. He's like, she's going to be so mad. I hope she attacks my person. And I can't wait.
And he says that she's really sexy. Oh, it says she's magnificent in her blazing righteousness or something like that.
Yeah.
Then, as he's talking to her about all this, because she's like, you cannot do this, it's wrong. And he's like, what's wrong, what's right? Tell me, philosophize with me right now. And she's like, it's against the law.
She talks about the Bible and laws and stuff. And he's like,
and
nah.
As she's doing this, he's like nuzzling her jaw and smelling her sweat and womanness. And then he and meanwhile, he's like, I am the person, I am the parliament who does the laws. You think that I should be responsible in saying what's right and wrong? And then he licks up to her, and then he bites her lips 3 times.
He comments on how he can tell that she hadn't bathed this morning because she's a little stinky, and he loves how stinky she is.
It's a pheromone city in here.
Deeply weird. It gets weirder and weirder.
So he does bite her lips.
He just bites on her lips. It's so weird. He just bites on her.
He says that he's absolutely refusing to let this other woman go because she is the most beautiful and the most rich, and she is the priziest prize of the aristocracy, and he deserves her above all, whether she likes it or not.
But he also, she's like, he's like, well, the thing is, she's going to have to marry me because I am going to ruin her. And she's like, stop, you can't, stop raping. Yeah. And he's like, no, I'm not going to rape her. What's going to happen is she's going to be here for a couple of weeks, and then she's going to, like, see me naked, and then she's going to, like, want to, and then she's going to be ruined. No,
it's not even that. It's like almost better than that. He says she's going to be here for a couple of weeks. Everybody's going to know who she's been with. They're going to assume that we've been doing a lot of the dirty. Mm-hmm. She's going to have to marry me. Mm-hmm. And she's like, okay, but if you're not going to rape, and you are marrying a woman who absolutely hates you, how do you ever expect to consummate this marriage? And he's like, look at this. What? Look at
he like spreads his arms wide and is like, she can't hate me forever, Bridget.
Do you not see?
No, Seraphine, as he calls her, because he still doesn't know her freaking name.
It's so good. Oh, fuck. It's so good.
She can't hate
She's not going to be able to resist this. He's like doing a burlesque at her. Oh, it's so good.
And he's right.
So now Bridget does get Hippolyta, God damn it, to escape. She helps her escape, and during this time, she is wearing his purple crushed leather jacket. She has filled the pockets with bacon.
Velvet.
What did I say?
Leather.
No,
it's a crushed leather.
His crushed velvet purple jacket. And she's filled the pockets with bacon so that the foxhounds that his father kept, the pack of foxhounds, will follow her and not Hippolyta on the pony.
Yeah, she puts Hippolyta on a pony, slaps it, and she goes off to the village or whatever. And then Bridget goes in the opposite direction with bacon in her pockets, like hoping to scare off the dogs. And she's like dropping bacon. And
this is incredibly brave because foxhounds apparently they're not like, beagle or hunt dog, duck dogs that like stop and point and whatever.
Right.
They just like go and they attack whatever they're supposed to be tracking. Mm-hmm. So that's a big concernicus once she really thinks through her plan and she is running at a breakneck pace. Mm-hmm. But don't worry, because a crash of hoofs behind her comes up.
He does that thing where he like runs on a horse behind her and then scoops her. He does a scoop.
He does a big scoop with both his man arms. Yeah. And then she is on with him and he is into it. He's like, oh, she has pushed me over the edge tonight. Mm-hmm. I cannot wait to
she
get
has done
her
it.
home.
She has lost me a wife for the second time.
Yeah, it's sexy, he thinks to himself. And so he carries her up to his room, and she's like, "You can't."
Oh, but wait. Yeah. He says she lost me a wife twice because first she ruined the blackmail, and then she helped this lady escape. Yeah. But the worst part of it was that she was trying to leave and run away and go the other way. It says first by blackmailing Miss Royal, and now by actually freeing the heiress. It was almost as if Seraphine, which again he calls her because he doesn't know her name, has something against the matrimonial state. But worse, much, much worse, she'd run away herself. That was unpardonable, unforgivable, and unjustifiable. Hit him, shame him, spit at him, anything but turn her back on him. She couldn't simply quit the game. That was not allowed. Shame him, spit him.
Spit on him. Mm-hmm. Do it. Why didn't we see that? Why didn't we see a tiny humiliate sex scene? Just like a rough humiliate sex scene.
It wouldn't have worked with these two because everything else they do is humiliate. No,
not him humiliating her. Her doing it to him.
That wouldn't have been bad. Yeah, I would have liked that. I would have really Okay. So
I'm so sorry. So now
he's carrying her in his arms. And when the light hits her when they go into the castle and he realizes that she filled the pockets of his crushed velvet cape or whatever with bacon and then rode on a pony and then mucked around in the mud for a while, he is devastated. He says, did it have to be the purple velvet? It's almost as if you don't like me.
She says, I don't like you.
I don't like you.
And he's like, you're a liar and you're a bad one.
He talks about giving her lying lessons.
And so then he does undress her, and she's like, oh, I should leave so that you can take a bath. And he's like, why? And she's like, oh, well, you should have your privacy during a bath. And he's like, when have I ever wanted privacy from you when I've bathed? And she's like, okay, well, I would like to give you some privacy. And then he starts undressing her. He does undress her completely, and she throws her shoulders back, and he's like, the bath is for you. And then she, oh God, and then she stands there like with no shame whatsoever. And so he picks her up, and as he's carrying her to the bath, he says, oh, Seraphine, how I will fuck you tonight. And she replies, my name is Bridget. That was all, honestly, that was all the consent that he needed.
Sure.
She gave him her
it.
Christian name.
I got it. But when he was undressing her, she was literally fighting him.
No, she wasn't.
She was trying to keep her cap on, for sure.
Only her cap because of her hair times.
I'm just saying,
because the only reason
he's just like
she would fuck
musing
him
about
with
how
the
she's a
cap on.
virgin. He's just like doing a big speech about how it's not later.
Oh,
it is not later. It is now. This undressing scene is very long.
Yeah.
And
oh God, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh,
but it's a little dubious. But
my name is Bridget, she says.
I am hungry for it. Nom, 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 nom.
Yeah.
Yes. But when she says my name is Bridget instead of I don't want to do that, then it's on TM. Before that, it's a little rough. That's all.
Yeah, fine. Yes. Yeah, there is a power imbalance, maybe. You know, I'll give you that, Erin. Okay.
Yes. He has taken her captive to his death castle. Okay, all right, okay.
Trash for it. So
now I would like to read a quick
Bridget.
passage.
Please.
That when he has gotten her down to her chemise.
Yes.
Chemise. Uh-huh. And he can see her boobs through the thin material, and the sight was the most erotic he'd ever seen in his debauched life. And then it said he had his hand on her upper arm just in case.
Yeah.
But she didn't bolt. So are you hearing it?
I am hearing everything you just said.
Okay, right.
Okay. So now he just can't handle the name Bridget. I love when he can't handle the name Bridget. His motherboard has crashed.
He wanted it to be Seraphine so bad.
He did.
He goes like, but it's an Irish name. Are you Irish? And she's like, no, at least not to my knowledge. And he's like, it's such a dissonant name. Bridget. It's
like a bird calling Bridget. It's so cute.
It's like an irritating bird that lives in the bushes and chirps repeatedly and ruins one's picnic. Not that I go on picnics. Bridget. He's so crazy.
He's so funny. And then he does stop dead in his tracks because her hair is being washed right now, and her arms are all up. And her tits are out of the water and stuff. And so then he's like, let me rinse your hair for you. Let me help you do a rinse. So I want it noted for the record that we got a lot of Melody and Erin kinks happening right now.
Yes.
And in the whole book, right? Because this is the richest, saddest boy, Erin.
Oh, I love a rich, sad boy. And he is... But the thing is, he's so sad, he's crazy.
Yes.
He stopped being sad. He's traversed, he's gone
a bit into maniacal.
Yeah, he's gone from sad to maniac.
And I don't hate it.
I know, which I didn't hate, but he's not your traditional sad rich boy in my...
Yeah, he's a whole new breed, you know? So, also, in the sickbed scene, we forgot to tell them that he did do my kink, which is the Duke forces you to say his Christian name.
Yes, call me
then,
Val.
We've got to call me Val if I'm going to die. I want you to call me Val. Yeah. Then, he does a new kink, which is heroine withholds her name. Oh, no. Oh. It's a new thing I learned about myself. I do love it. We've got so many Melody Erin catnips. We've got oil painting. Oil painting.
I'm certain that you didn't hate when she washes herself in front of him in a very performative way. That was a very Melody
the
time.
Exhibitionist bath times?
The exhibitionist, like,
the
toe
bath
washing.
as foreplay? Erin?
Yeah,
I asked
like,
you.
He's like touching himself to her washing her toes. That was very Melody.
Her little chubby little piggy toes.
I also felt like it was fairly Melody that he was completely naked all the time for the first half of the book.
Until they
And it was
fuck.
completely clothed the first 2 times.
And he was
Right?
mostly clothed the first 2 times they fucked because he so urgently needs to bang her right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that felt very Melody to me.
And we've got the murder for reasons. We found a new kink, which is take off your bandana in order to preserve it during the murder.
Well, a fancy glitter man.
Oh my god,
is already my thing. So a man who wants to protect his clothes from his reasons murder.
Oh, this thing is just riddled with glory. So sorry. So now she does do this exhibitionist wash times for him. She does wash. I know she does wash all of her little toesies for him. And then he finally can't handle it when she goes from her toes to her calves to her clit. And then he's like, what more can a man take? And so he picks her up and he tosses her on the bed.
This speech, though. Seraphine, will you drive me mad, scatter my wits to the wind like so much chaff? Leave me a shell of a man broken, hollowed of brain and soul, left with merely a throbbing prick like a mindless goat. Have mercy, I plead, O siren of chatelaines and unlovely bonnets. Let my famished mouth feast upon thy sweet, sweet flesh. I am awash in yearning spunk. He is
yearning spunk!
So crazy.
I'm in love with him.
All right.
He's my favorite sad, crazy boy.
Yes.
So then he does go down on her like a fucking champ. She comes twice. And then he does think she's a virgin and just rams it in as hard as he can.
Shoves it right in. He's not a small man.
Then he starts commanding her to come on his cock. And then he finally gets to the point where he's so crazy that he doesn't command her anymore. He starts begging her to come on his cock. He says, please come. And then she goes to touch herself. And then he's like, get your fucking hand away from that. And then he does a big press down on her clit and she comes like a freight train. And then he does. There's a bunch of like spurting seed and stuff that happens in this book.
If you have like say you have maybe a couple of words that you can't read in a romance sex scene that gross you out, they are definitely said in this book. But it's also
going to be said in the most creative combination, a la yearning spunk.
Yes. Yeah.
Like,
you'll be okay. I'm just letting you know it's in here. Good. Whatever grosses you out, it's in this book.
It's in there. Okay, so he wakes up to an empty bed, learns that Hippolyta did get all the way away. His foxhounds never found her. He takes her up to the tower where we do learn all about the Lords of Chaos and all the details that I told you earlier. There are masks involved. It's a lot. Then he takes her back downstairs.
It's a great foreskin joke that I just super love.
Oh my god. Foreskin joke.
We don't have time, but it's so good.
But listener,
he just starts yelling about foreskin all the time.
There is a foreskin joke that is top fucking notch. It's gold.
It's really good.
It's what it is. So then they do some chair sex.
Here's something I love.
Please.
After the first time, he realizes that she wasn't a virgin, or it wouldn't have gone that way. Which again, dubious consent. But he realizes, like, when he shoved it in, she wasn't like, ouch, please stop. So, there's probably something going on there. And he's like, why weren't you a virgin? I thought you were a virgin. It was completely implied, like, every day. Yeah. And she's like, only by you, all the time. Like, you were fetishizing it, and I was saying nothing.
And he's like, I know, right? Weird that I fetishized it. I've never thought it was cool ever in my life.
Yeah.
Something weird's going on here.
And then he's like, is there somebody I need to kill? Or like, what's the deal? And she's like, no, you don't need to kill anyone. And then he asks who it is. And then she's like, do you want to go through the Rolodex of all of your lovers? And he does talk about how he started at 12 and trigger, whatever. But then they drop it. Then they don't talk about it anymore.
He's just like, he truly didn't care. What he was asking when he said, who did you lose it to? How did you lose it? He was like, did someone rape? That's what he was implying. Did someone rape you? Who do I have to kill? And she was like, oh, no, totally consensual. And he was like, all right, cool. And that was it. So now she's looking at him and she's like, it's really unfair that you're never taking off your clothes while we're doing sex because you were nude so much before I was allowed to touch you. And he's like, you noticed! Wasn't I magnificent? And she's like, you're the most vain man ever. And he's like, I promise you will be able to see me in all of my glory right after, but I have to be inside you.
Is this when he goes through all of the Lords of Chaos stuff with his sister?
No, that's before. Okay. We already...
Okay.
Listen, there was a whole... Listen. So
it's important. It is important.
You're right. I forgot it because I didn't want to talk about it, but we have to. It's important.
Sure, I can do it. I'll do it.
Trigger warning.
Aaron, go. Everything. All the things. All the things that you might have been worried about at the beginning, they're all here.
It's going to happen.
So this Lords of Chaos Dolphin Club, when you are initiated into it, they do make you do something completely unforgivable for blackmail purposes. It's very NXIVM. It's very collateral.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's very like every... government secret
it's
society.
It's very everything there is. It's very gangs. It's very skull and crossbones. It's very everything.
Yes.
So if you're initiation, you've got to do something really horrible. And so when he was 17, they were going to initiate him. So what they did was they brought his sister in, his half-sister, who was very young.
Who was his dad's daughter.
Yes. They wanted him to rape and murder his half-sister. But what he did do instead was like escaped with her. And that's when he went to Europe and traveled the world and all this stuff. And they have all these conversations about his world travels.
Yes.
So he got the sister to Europe.
Then he came back to England for a minute. And then we find out later that the dad found her in Europe. And because of that, he had some reasons to do some things, which I guess we can talk about later because it will come up later. It has to.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, the Duke of Dymore comes to have lunch and she's also supposed to have lunch with him. And it's a big awkward because the Duke is talking openly about we need to get you initiated. And Val's like, do we have to go through the whole initiation? I'm me. I'm great.
Because he had already gotten a tattoo of the dolphin on his butt, by the way, before they asked him to do that stuff to his sister. So he already has it.
So it looks like he's already in there anyway. And the Duke, and he's like, oh no, age-old rules. So he's talking about all of this in only kind of veiled terms. And when that horrible man is leaving, Val accidentally grabs Bridget's hand. And he's like, oh fuck, now this awful man knows that I care about her. And that's the last thing that I want or need, or you have to kill the things you love. Good thing I don't love her, he says to himself.
Right.
So now they go back to London because he wants to put as many miles between this dude and Seraphine as he can.
But she also is like, hey, don't join that.
Oh, God.
Please don't join Pedophile Club. And he's like, I have to join Pedophile Club because that's how you get all the power. Because not only do these guys do all this weird, horrible sex stuff, they also look out for each other. And then you have the blackmail on everybody. And then you're kind of untouchable.
Well, and he finally so when he was telling her earlier about his sister, he went into full trauma shakes and crying and stuff. And so now he sort of goes into the same place. And he's like, no, you don't understand. I have to have the most power because it's the only thing that stands between Eve and you and me from these wolves coming to our door and dragging you away and murdering you to death. And he's really having a big
because then you get the dirt on all of them. So then they can't hurt you. And also they did find his mother.
Listen, wait. But then they do a PTSD fuck that's really hot. And now we can move on to the mother thing.
Yeah. So his mother did put a special letter into a white coffin, tiny coffin.
I looked up casket, and it's a British Times jewelry box, apparently, but it does sound like coffin.
It's a little tiny little white coffin. She stuffed this letter in here, and then she was like, hey, Val, I've written a letter that, if I send it to anybody, you will be hanged. And I'm just going to put in this little coffin. I'm going to hide it in a little hidey hole, just so you know that I have it. And then they're, in the house
she's
or
in bed, petting teenage Cal while she's, sealing this letter into this tiny ivory coffin. Blech.
Yes. And then they're in the house, and then they hear a cat meowing, and he's been hearing cats meowing the entire time he's there, but he just assumes that they're phantom cats due to his hallucinations and horrifying mental health issues
and trauma.
So he's just like, yep, those are the cats that died and that I killed. So then they do find that there are real cats living in the walls.
There's a mama and 18 tiny little kittens, and they are sitting on top of this thing that can hang him.
It is what we do call a metaphor, because the mom of the cat has left, and then the kittens are there, all curled up in this teeny tiny little coffin. And then he gives it to her and says, "The information in here will get me hanged, and I'm giving it to you."
Yeah, and she's like, "I don't want that.
Okay,
That's awful.
That's fine."
And he's like, "I'm giving it to you because I know you won't betray me." So let's fast forward a bit. They go back to London, and he goes to her mom's house because he now like knows that because of the white streak, he knows that she's the bastard daughter of this lady. So he goes over and he's like, "I'm gonna be a good boyfriend, and I'm just gonna like scooch your letters back to you. Thank you so much for introducing my sister to places." He never uses his blackmail for like real things. All he wanted from this lady was to like introduce his sister to a few other ladies in town. That's what he wanted from her. That's all. That
can be a big deal. That was a big deal in a book.
Yeah, I guess.
In one of the books.
I know, in a couple of books. These. Yeah. All right. So
that can be a big deal.
Now it's a big, it's a big confrontation because everybody shows up. Lord Care, the son of her half brother,
her Bridget's brother, half brother,
shows up and he gets to town and he's got shock white hair as well because that's the thing that happens with her kids. So he's like, "Oh, yeah, I just thought, we have an acquaintance," he's telling Lady Care. And then Bridget has found out that this is where he went. And so she comes storming in and she takes off her cap because he like burned her mob cap or something hilarious. And Lord Care sees her and he's like, "Mother, who is this white-haired lady?" And
Val, again, goes off fucking deep end.
So good.
Like kind of makes out with her or something in front of them.
He says like, "Oh, she's my housekeeper." And he's like, "Your housekeeper?" And he grabs her by the waist and pulls her close to him. And he's like, "Oh, yes, and a bit more."
Yeah.
And he looks down at her and he's like, "Shall we go together?" And she's like,
but he also makes a joke, trigger warning, about having sex with that guy's 5-year-old daughter.
It's not about that, though. No, I'm calling shenanigans on this. Justice for Val in this moment. The implication is not that he will actually do this with the little girl. It's that everybody in the room, he's like,
he's trying to make a point.
Yeah, the little girl says, "I don't like you." And he looks at her and he says, "Nobody here does, but nobody in this room has a problem with me taking sweet Seraphine out and like debauching her any way I want. What do you think they would think if I did the same thing with you? Because like you are a person of value to these people."
He does not direct it toward her. He directs it toward somebody else.
Yes.
Like he's not talking to the 5-year-old.
No, I think he is, actually.
He does?
Yeah, and then she cries.
She does cry. She does say, "I don't like you," and she does cry.
Yeah. So then finally Lady Care is like, Lucifer, whatever his name is. Lazarus.
Nope, his name is Lazarus.
Lazarus. He is. This is yours. She's my daughter. And then Lazarus, out of fucking nowhere. I still am confused about why this happens. He does.
You're confused about why
punches.
He just talked about fucking his 5-year-old
I don't think
daughter.
that's why he does it. I think it's because he's now boning his brand new sister.
I think it's both things. I think he's just like, "I don't like whatever this is. I'm going to punch you in the face.
You have disrespected me on every level, sir."
I'm not certain that he's not naked for this scene. Like, I think it's possible he barged into these people's house naked. I was like, "Hey, I'm fucking your daughter. This is your sister. I'm fucking your sister. I could fuck your daughter too.
You want me to fuck your mom?
I could fuck everybody in here. Look at that. I'm hard." Like, I think it's quite possible he's only wearing a silk robe completely open in this scene. You don't know.
You don't know. So anyway, he's now challenged to a duel, and she's trying to talk him out of dueling. And he's like, "There's no way I'm going to talk. You're not going to do it because this is ridiculous. Like, how do you not care that this woman stole your rightful life from you? You started working at 12. You could have been reading. You could have been traveling. You could have been doing all of those things had she just given you to a family that was of her same station or like a tiny bit lower. But no. She made you a housekeeper for the rest of your life. And that's nonsense. And so, and he's like, did she just like give you away like a basket full of kittens? The cat metaphor comes back.
Cats, meow. Mew, mew.
And so she's like, listen, if you do this, I'm going to give that hangable letter to the Duke of Kyle, the one that's the king's man. And he's like, nah, you won't do that. He's calling her bluff. So then she does. She does go give that thing to the Duke of Kyle.
Wait, I do want to say one thing.
Please.
She realizes that killing her brother is something that Val is doing for her, even though she desperately does not want him to do it and has told him to his face. It was just that she knew that Val was doing this all for her, that in his own way, it was a bizarre show of loyalty, perhaps even affection. To Val, killing her brother was a bit like handing her a bunch of posies. Because he's batshit crazy.
I love him. Oh, nom, trash panda.
Nom.
Okay, so now the Duke of Kyle stops him in the middle of the duel, and he's like, I have this teeny tiny coffin. I need you to stop now. And Val's like, oh shit. I concede the duel. I apologize for everything I did to you in your house. I was completely in the wrong, and now I'm gonna go. What?
They did have crazy sex after she gave him the coffin. Where they have like I love you sex, and then they do the thing where he's saying like bad words and then she's saying good words. Yeah. It was super weird and crazy.
No, it was so
and then he
good.
takes a full it was crazy. And then he takes a full glass of wine and splashes it on her boobs and licks it all off.
And then he licks it. This is hello. Okay, and then I'm so sorry. Before this, so she does give the thing to the Duke of Kyle.
Yeah, sorry, I just couldn't skip over the wine.
No, you're right. You had to do the wine. Now I have to do the goodbye beach.
Because
I forgot. So then she comes back and she's like, he's never going to want to talk to me again. I do need to put his cock in my mouth at least once.
This is the same.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Because she's doing the beach and then he pulls her up. Yes, it is.
I think it's two different scenes, but either way, it's glorious.
I think it is.
So then, boy, and no, it is a different scene because in the end of this one, she says, I love you.
Yes.
And he is flabbergasted.
It is the same scene.
Is it?
Yes.
Wow.
I'm pretty certain. It doesn't matter.
No, but the good and the bad words were after he had the trauma response. That was the PTSD sex? Listen, it doesn't matter. Okay, so now we're at the duel.
The words one was that one.
Yes!
But the beach one and the wine one are one and the same.
Was this one.
The beach and the wine are the same.
You are correct.
Yes.
Oh, we were
I
both
love you.
right, and I love that about
We're
us.
kind of both right. Yeah,
So
it was
anyway,
a slash and it was a stab.
Yeah. So now, so then the Duke of Kyle
stops
is
the
like,
duel. The duel, he's like,
done.
yep, done.
And
Duel's done.
the Duke of Kyle is like a much. And he's like, what is in this teeny tiny ivory coffin? And he says, oh, that's the rest of my heart. She gave you my heart.
Yeah. Sweet.
And then he goes home and just like...
It didn't make sense, but it was sweet.
It did because of that fake parable that was throughout that we haven't talked about. And I'm sorry, listener, there's this
No, I
parable.
didn't read it. Didn't want to. Hated it. Stopped it. Didn't want to read it. Didn't. Hey, good morning, writers. If you put a little italics of a different book in all the chapter under the chapter numbers, or a song or a poem under all the chapter numbers of your book, I'm looking at you, Penny Reed. I am not gonna read it. I'm not gonna read it, Elizabeth Hoyt. I'm not gonna read it, Penny Reed. I am reading one book today, and it is this book.
I love that shit. Oh, I love it. So anyway,
I'm sure you do.
So he goes home, and just like everything else, so she's like, he's never going to talk to me again. I have betrayed him. I've done the worst thing that's ever happened in the world. I have to go. And so she leaves and she gets picked up by her mom and she starts living with her brother and her brother's wife and stuff for a few days. And he, on the other hand, is ready to go home and like basically worship at her feet because he's very impressed that she outmaneuvered him again. And she was that like brave to do it. He's like real ready to just like lay it down on the line and call her his queen and like dick her down real good. But she's gone. And that, in fact, is the worst thing she could ever do to him, as he said before.
Right.
So he goes into a big depressive
Not to
spiral.
her, though.
Never to her, to
But
us.
yes.
Yeah. Big depressive spiral. He's like, nothing matters in the whole wide world because Seraphine's not here. I obviously have no more moral compass because Seraphine's not here. So he does write
Right.
to the Duke of Dymore, and he's like, I am ready to be initiated. I may as well have power if I'm not going to have her.
Mm-hmm.
So then she's walking around on the streets. She does get viciously kidnapped. And then 3 days later, she does show up to a rural castle. It's an estate castle. There are torches and men, nude men in animal masks. And it's definitely a Lords of Chaos shindig.
Yes.
So they tie her hands and put her on an altar.
It's very much the slab from the red.
It is.
Yes.
It is.
/365.
So then Dymore looks at our plucky hero, who is in an animal mask, but she knows his body, with the golden crusted chest hairs
and
or whatever.
that knee scar. Yeah.
And those comely balls.
And that penis.
And that dick. That often angry, red, erect
why
dick.
is it always so angry?
It's
and
so
why are there
mad.
so many veins in the description
Listen,
of it?
I don't know. I think it should be happy.
Or sad.
Sure. But why not angry and jubilation for the
why not
new
manic?
sensations? Manic. He
Okay.
definitely has a manic red penis. Okay.
Ooh.
So anyway, he's like, you need to do whatever you want to her. You can share her or not. Then you need to murder her up good. And then you're initiated. So Val does grab his big curved gold dagger. And then he looks at her and he's like, she's never going to forgive me for doing another big murder. Another big naked murder in front of her. And so he guts Dymore like a fish.
First, he thinks you have to kill the things you love, and then he raises the knife.
Yeah.
His grand gesture is not stabbing her.
That's true.
Yes.
And then, congratulations, it's over. They're together forever now. They get married.
Yeah, married.
He becomes, in the epilogue, he becomes the diplomat to the Ottoman Empire, so they get to do all
that's
those
great.
travels.
They did we skipped a lot of it, but they did a lot of talking about traveling in places he'd been and places she wanted to go, and learning languages and learning customs and learning all about the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how they wanted to do that together.
So that's what they're doing
But
now.
the epilogue started like this, with a whole page of a different book. Do you see those italics? And I was like, hell no. Hell no.
You were like, double
no. 2 pages. Look at that. There's a second one. Oh my God, there's 3. Look at that. My God. From a whole different book. No,
like,
ma'am.
Double absolutely not. Anyway, It's a parable that I Googled because I thought maybe it was a real parable. It's not. It's another story Elizabeth
so
Hoyt
it
read.
was part of this book.
Yeah.
Elizabeth. Well,
because it didn't have an author on it. And so I was like, I wonder why it doesn't have an author on it. Usually it's completely credited. And
I guess I just thought it was one of those things that was like extra old, that
don't you feel
authors.
dumb?
Wow.
Listen,
No?
listen, I might actually be dumb because I might just be bad at Google.
We're going to find out how bad I am at Google when everyone emails us about dolphins and Dionysus. We're going to find out exactly how bad I am at Google.
No, that's not myth anymore. That's fact.
That's canon.
Yeah.
We've made it fact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good.
That's hedonism's canon.
Good. Okay.
Okay, Erin, do you have a lady love?
Yes, I do. I have a topical lady love. It's going to be short and sweet.
Great.
Listen, cats. They're for petting. They're for snuggles.
Yeah.
Cats are for petting and snuggles. They aren't for murdering to teach your child a lesson.
Yep.
Cats are great. Get a cat, pet a cat, look at a picture of a cat. It will cheer you up, and it's a lady love. Don't murder cats.
Don't. That's an extra lady love.
Instead, use them for a lady love.
Yes.
Cats.
I like it. Mine is also topical, and it is a bonkers book. Erin, there is nothing that makes my heart sing more than a bonkers book. I fucking love a bonkers book. This thing made me so happy. Start to finish, not a single complaint. I fucking love a bonkers book.
We know.
So
yes,
get
ma'am.
those more in your life. Talk to your friends.
Oh, I thought you wanted you were talking about this book that you liked. This current book that we're talking about.
In general.
I thought you were going to recommend a different good bonkers book. I was waiting for it. Alien Billionaire Centaur or something.
No, there's so many of them.
The Alien Billionaire Centaur is something I would read.
Yes.
I just thought of it. Write it.
Totally. And also, like, maybe my lady love is get together with your favorite romance friends and just specifically ask for the bonkersest book they know about.
Yes.
And then please post it in our Facebook group or tweet it at us.
Yes. Reach out to HBs who know about them.
Yes.
HB Kimberly. Actually, good morning. Hi, Kimberly.
Hi, Kim.
Write that book, The Alien Billionaire Centaur.
Yes,
please. Write it for me.
Hello.
Thank you.
Please.
Hello.
You've been really writing that erotica lately, and we need Alien Billionaire Centaur. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Hey, guys, you can find us everywhere. You know where to find us. Come find us. Come to our Patreon. There's a bunch of shit happening there that is very fun. So keep being a badass and love yourself as much as you love a sad glitter boy who's going to take off his beautiful, beautiful purple jeweled robe.
Glitter robe.
In order
to do a murder with reasons.
Yes.
And ask you to call him by his name.
Yes.
But also doesn't know your name.
And we'll go off on long, absolutely nutter butters rants about how glorious you are.
Love yourself as much as you love comely furried balls.
Yeah.
In an oil portrait of a crazy, crazy man.
In the depiction of a god.
Like, no shit. Like, in book 2, he murders her, right? Like, like, right? Like,
no!
Book 2 is him and Hippopotamus, like, falling in love because he's accidentally murdered Bridget at some point, right? Like, this guy is got a case of the deep down crazies that can only be cured with mental health care that he is never going to receive. I'm sorry. She's going to have a beautiful, short, happy life.
Oh, I'm obsessed with him.
Yes, I am too. I mean, I would be there. I would be right there.
Oh, God.
But full on, he would kill you. Full on. And it would be due to a delusion
It would.
that he had.
It would be because of, like, a night terror or something.
Yes. Or he would get, like, a suspicion in his brain that you were working with them or something. Like, 100% he murders this woman. 100%. I'm sorry. It's true.
You're such a... All right. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, my God.
Hey, you. Yes, listener, you. Are you loving the show? If so, please leave a rating and review in your podcast app. The 90 seconds you take to say something nice not only helps new people find the show, but it makes me super smile over at HBHQ. Also, I've had a few people ask, and the answer is yes. We are still doing the 5-star bribe. If you leave us a review with 5 stars, then we'll do whatever book you want. We're real deep into the list, though, so it might be a while. Lilas! Okay, back to the show.